All right. Hi, everybody. It is June 29th, Monday night, and this is our Baker's Math Study Hall. And so I thought we'd do a couple of things, but first let's talk about the Spritz cookies. So evidently there were no percentages given for those or that formula. So let's take a look at it and we'll make that happen before we go on to the next thing. So this is a perfect example. Here's something that everybody's done this week. And if you want to make more or less, then, and we can kind of figure out how many cookies you might get out of this. So let's take a look. We know that, and actually I don't love these little drawing things, but I'll try and do my best. So you know that your flour is 100%. So there is that. All right. And then each one of these ingredients will be divided by that flour weight, which in this case is 312 grams. So let's sit at the top and we'll take our butter at 226 grams and we're going to divide it by 312 grams, which will, when we multiply it by 100, we will get 72.435. So let's do 72, we'll round it to 44. Okay, and remember, if you do this and you do 2 decimal points, it just gives you a little bit more accuracy down the road. So that is the butter. So 72.44% relative to the flour. All right, so your sugar is 200 grams, and we'll divide that by 312 grams of the flour, which will give us 0.64. We multiply that by 100 and we get 64.102. So we will call that 64.1%. Here we are. Sorry about that. Okay, so 50 divided by 50 grams of egg divided by 312 grams of flour times 100 to put it in that percentage form gives us 16.025, which we will round to 16.03. Sorry, I wish my skills here were a little bit better, but hopefully everybody's following along as well. Okay, then we've got 18 grams of an egg yolk. 18 divided by 312 gives us 0.057. We'll multiply that by 100, and we get 5.769. So we will call that 5.77. Any questions with the rounding up to that second decimal point, or is everybody okay?
Okay, so far.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so then we've got 4.5 grams of vanilla, which we'll divide by the 312, multiply by 100, and we get 1.4423, so we will do 1.44. And then our last ingredient is salt at 1.5 grams. So we'll divide that by the 312 and then by 100, and we get 0.48. So 0.48%. Okay, so now let's add all those up and we'll get our overall baker's percentage. All right, 72.44. And holler if I'm doing something different. I think I'm reading these all correctly. 64.1, 16.03, 5 point, well, 5.77, 1.44, 0.48, and then 100. So our baker's percentage is 260.26. Okay, so that is our overall baker's percentage. Okay, so everybody okay with that? Okay, does anybody remember what their chef told them is the basic yield of this? Do you remember about how many grams were going in each cookie? Or did you not have that conversation at all?
No, I do not remember the conversation.
No? I know, I'm not exactly sure. Let's add all of this up as well so we know, we'll sort of see. And maybe you all know about how many cookies you got out of it. So let's add these numbers up here. So 226 plus our 250, 18, 4.5, 1.5, and 312. So we get up 812 grams. Oh, this is pathetic. And this is a percentage here. Okay, so
I think I got about 3 dozen out of one bag.
you did? Okay. I just divided 812 divided by, I divided it by 24, thinking maybe 2 dozen, about 33.8 or 34 grams a cookie, but you said you got about 3 dozen? Is that what everybody else got as well? Or
Yeah,
have you,
I think I was like 5 or 6.
sorry?
I think I was about a half dozen shy,
Okay,
but
okay,
I made mine fairly large.
okay, okay.
Yeah, something similar, about 2.5 dozen.
Okay, okay. All right. So 12 divided by, let's say 30. So about 27, 25, 27 grams a piece. So, and we could say, you know, the yield is 2.5 dozen. So if you want to make this, you want to make more of this, let's say, you know, you want to make 4 dozen, and let's see. So if there's about 27 grams in each one, and you want to make about 48 of them, you could take your 48 times 27, and it would give you, let me just click out of this for a minute. I think everything's going to shift up. Yeah, okay. So we would, our desired yield, our desired yield, if we want 48 cookies, so 48 times 27 grams, if that's about right, gives us a desired yield of 1,200. Let's try that over again. 1,296 grams. So if that is in fact accurate and about the correct size, then this would be your desired yield here. And we can go through and we can figure out all the new amounts. Would everybody like to do that, to practice?
That's fine.
Okay, all right. So if we
Yes, sir,
take
please.
1296, so our desired yield to make 4 dozen Spritz cookies that are roughly about 27 grams, then 1296 divided by this baker's percentage of 260.26%, and we get 497.96, which I will round to 498. So we'll say we're going to use 498 grams of flour. Okay, so then we'll simply take that 498 and multiply it by each one of the percentages. Okay, so 498 times 72.44% gives us 360.75. So you'll do 361. Okay, and then our sugar will be 498 times 64.1%. Whoop, sorry. Okay. So let me get back in this little pencil mode here. So 319.21. So we'll call that 319 grams of sugar. And then let's do our egg. So 1296 times 16.03%. And we get 207.7. So we'll call that 208 grams. Okay. And then 1296 times 5.77%, 74.7. So we'll call this 75 grams of egg yolk. Right.
Chef, are we dividing by 1296 or 498?
We are taking to find the, oh wait, did I do 1296? Did I misspeak?
The last couple ingredients.
Did I? I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, I need to, let me, thank you.
I was just a little confused there for a
I
second.
know, I'm thinking, is that right? 498 times 72.44%, get 361. 498 times 64.1%, we get 319. 498 times 16.03%, and we get, let me do that again. 498 times 16.03%. Oh yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you for catching that. 79.8, which we'll call 80. You know, as I did one of those numbers, I thought, wait a minute, that's a huge jump. Okay. So then 498 times 5.77% is 28.7, so we'll call that 29. And then our vanilla extract, 498 times 1.44% is 7 grams. And then our salt is 498 times 0.48%, and we get 2.39. So that'll be 2 grams. Okay, so when we add all these up, they should be in this ballpark here. Okay, so 361 plus 319 plus 80 plus 29 plus 7 plus 2 plus 498. and we get 1296 on the dot. Okay, so that's our sort of double check that we have done our math correctly. And we would have been way off if I had continued to multiply everything by 1296. So, no, wait. Sorry. This is looking very sloppy. Let me do this. Okay, so questions. Everybody been able to kind of follow along to see, to understand what we're doing here with your calculators?
Perfectly.
Okay, okay. Before we move on, any other questions? So I think this was kind of good. You know, here's a formula that is fresh in your mind. And we talked about figuring out the desired yield by a specific number of cookies. So we didn't alter it all that much, but enough, 48 cookies instead of about 30. And we figured out the percentages and then all of the new amounts. So hopefully it is starting to, is everybody okay if I erase this? Nobody needs me to keep this up?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Good? Okay. So anyway, hopefully it's starting to feel a little bit more familiar, so much like a foreign language to everybody. Let me just see. Okay, so let's now maybe take a look at, thought we would pull up, you know, we did this before, but I thought we would take another formula. I thought these cookies kind of looked good. And let's talk a little bit about figuring out the percentages, figuring out, you know, just looking sort of at the general baker's math. And then I thought we can take a look at that sheet that we looked at a little bit last week with the bread. And we looked at the English muffins and being told to make a certain amount and then figuring out all the new amounts. So let's first go here. So this is one of the sites that we've talked about in the past, and it is kind of nice because they do, for the most part, give you the grams for all of the things that we would typically use teaspoons to measure. So, oh, I say that with the exception of ginger, and I don't know why they did that. So we'll have to figure out that one as well. Okay, so we have our, just gonna get a piece of paper here and write this out. Okay, so let's find our flour. So we can see they've got 250 grams of flour. So that will be our 100% ingredient. Okay, so let's do this and put 100 here. All right, and then we're going to divide everything by that. And maybe before we get started, let's see if we can come up with that weight for ginger. So let's check the King Arthur website and see if we can find, I think it's under weight. Conversions, maybe. No. Okay, let me find this again. Okay, ingredient weight chart, here we go. Okay, so let's see what we can find out here and then we'll go back. So let's go to ginger. I would think, doesn't everybody think ginger would be pretty close to cinnamon if we can't find it? Ginger, well, they have fresh, but they don't have powdered. So let's see what cinnamon is, and we don't have cinnamon either. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so okay, so they're saying, and I'm really not sure, but let's just go with this for the time being. So 1.76 grams, they're saying, is a teaspoon of ginger. Okay. So we can go back here to our cookies and we will take a look. So they want just a quarter of a teaspoon. So we're going to take that 1.76 and divide it by 4 and we'll get 0.44 grams. So let's put that over here. Okay, so 0.44. Okay, so, and we lost our 100%. So here's 100% for the flour. Okay, so we're going to take each one of the ingredients and divide it by 250. Okay, so we know that there is 267 grams of sugar. So right off the bat, you know that the sugar is probably going to be more than 100% because the weight is more than 250. So 250 divided by 67 divided by 250 times 100, and we get 106.8. So we'll call this 107%. So 107%. All right, and then 113 divided by 250. We'll get 45.2. All right, and then we get 2 grams that we'll divide by 250, multiply it by 100, and we'll get 0.8. And then 50 divided by 250, multiply it by 100, and we get 20% here. Anybody with any questions? Am I going too fast? Anybody? Please holler if that's the case. Okay, we're going to take 19 and divide it by 250.
I do things longhand.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I write everything out longhand, so I'm trying to write all the ingredients down and the formula for to get the percentages and do the math all at the same time. I'm just
Okay.
a little behind. That's it.
I'll post this in the class chat too. Okay, so you'll have this, and then it obviously won't post with these corrections. So even if you just write the ingredients and the percentages next to them, you can add that if you'd like. Okay, so wait, 19 divided by 250. And we get 0.076. Multiply it by 100 and we get 7.6%. And we have 9 grams of lemon zest. So 9 divided by 250 times 100. We get 3.6. So remember, we're taking each individual weight, dividing it by the weight of our flour, which is 250. And we're coming up with the percentages. And then we'll add them all up to get the overall baker's percentage. Okay, so then we get through 30 grams of Meyer lemon juice divided by 250 times 100, and we get 12% here. And of course, there's our flour at 100%. And then we'll take our 2.25 divided by 250 times 100, and we'll get 0.9% for our salt. And did I do that right? Yeah, okay. So now we have 2.5 grams of baking soda that we will divide by 250, and we will multiply that by 100, and we'll get, wait a minute. Yep, so we get 1%. And then our ground cardamom is 1 gram divided by 250 times 100, and we'll get 0.4. And here comes that ginger, which we're assuming is correct, at 0.44 grams divided by 250 times 100, and we get 0.18. And then our confectionery sugar, 60 grams divided by 250, and we get 24%. Okay, and then of course we will figure out the frosting separately. All right, so we can look at that after, but for the cookies, this is what we've got here. And let's add all these numbers up to get our overall baker's percentage, okay? So we'll take our 107 and add it to 45.2 plus 0.8 plus 20 plus 7.6 plus 3.6 plus 12 plus 100 plus 0.9 plus 1 plus 0.4 plus 0.18 plus 24. And we get 322.68. Anybody who's following along with a calculator, is that what you got as well?
Yes, Chef, I got the same thing.
Okay, yep, I just did it a second time. That's what I got too. Okay, so there you are. That's our baker's percentage for this particular lemon cookie recipe. All right, and then let's figure out what the overall yield is. So we can, they're saying it makes about 16 sandwich cookies. So they're probably getting 32 individual cookies. So let's take a look. We get 267 plus 13, 2. Okay, so I get 806.19. All right, so let's take that number and divide it by 32 and see about what they are putting. So they're putting about 25 grams in each. So this is going to make 32 cookies, about 25 grams a piece. Okay, so, you know, you can obviously make more or less if you wanted to using your baker's math. All right. So does everybody have this down? Can I erase these numbers or do you need me to wait a minute?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's erase this and we can quickly take a look at the okay, so let's get rid of that eraser and let's scroll down here. Whoops. Well, that wasn't good. Not sure what happened there. Okay. Well, evidently it doesn't want us to look at the the cream cheese frosting. Let's see if we can find it, honestly. We may just have to.
If you keep scrolling on the cookie cake, it's right beneath the cookie instructions.
No, I know it was. It flipped to that other page when I did that. So yeah, so that's why I was having trouble with it. So let's get back to cookies. And actually, maybe I'll do this Meyer Lemon. I'll just search for it. Here we are. All right, we'll try this one more time and see what happens. Okay, here we go. All right, so here is our cream cheese frosting, and we can set our sugar as the 100% ingredient. You could set the cream cheese as your 100% ingredient, but let's do the confectionery sugar. So we'll set that at 100%. Let's do this. Okay, so we've got 100% here. And then we'll take our 113 divided by 300 times 100, and we get 37.66, which will round to 37.67. 37.67. All right, and then we've got 57 grams of butter, so 57 divided by 300, and we get 19%. And we've got 1.5 grams of salt. And we'll get 0.5%. And then our last one is the vanilla at 2 grams. And it'll be 0.67. All right, so we'll add all these up for our overall percentage. So 37.67 plus 19 plus 0.5 plus 0.67 plus 100. And we get 157.84. All right, so you would want to make sure that you were using, well, let's just sort of see here, wait 1 second. Yeah, so you need to make sure you do your baker's math separately for things like this. You don't lump it all into one thing. And that's sort of that. Okay, any questions? Everybody caught up with this? Can I erase these numbers?
Yes, I'm good.
Yes, I'm good too.
Good, okay.
Chef, since we use the powdered sugar as our 100%, would that completely change our percentages if we use the cream cheese as our 100%?
Let's do it. Okay. So you're gonna be, I think, a little bit off, but let's, I think it will turn out in the end. I don't think it really matters which you set as your 100%, but let's do that. So we have this as our 100%. Okay, so let's take our 57 and divide it by our 113. And we get 50.44. Whoop. And then we'll get 1.5 divided by 113. And we get 1.33. We are going to be off here, but I think it still works out. I don't think it really in the end matters. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. And then 2 divided by 113. We get 1.77. 1.77. And then 300 divided by 113. Well, it's definitely off. And in my mind, I have to think about how this all works. So it's going to be 165. So your overall percentage is going to be very different here. Let me do this again. Yeah, that all looks right. It should still be okay. Let's do it. Let's double it, and we'll do it both ways and see what numbers we get. How's that? And I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna start writing it on here because this is a little bit kooky. So we're gonna do 100 plus 50.44 plus 1.33 plus 1.77 plus 265. All right, so we get 418. Okay. Okay, so I'll put it on here. There's 418.54. Okay, so let's say we're going to double it. All right, let's add these up so we know what we're doubling. So 113 plus 57 plus 2 plus 300. Okay, so we got 473.5. 0.5. Okay, so we're going to just randomly double it. Our desired yield becomes 947. Okay, so 947 divided by 157.84%. And we get, all right, 7 divided by, this isn't right, something's not working out. Okay. I've got to do these numbers again because something's off here. Sorry about this. Okay, so I'm getting that right. And then okay, so that now I don't know what I was doing. So when I do the baker's math and take 947 and divide it by 157.84%, I get 600, which is exactly double that. So that's our new 100% ingredient. And so we'll get 600 times 37.67%, and we get 226.02, so 226, and we'll get 600 times 19.5%, we'll get 117, and we'll take 600 times, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, that's 114. And we'll get 3 for the salt. And then vanilla. We'll get 4.02. Okay, so everything adds up on that side. All right, so let's take our 947 and we're going to divide it by our 418.54%, and we get 226. So that is our new 100% ingredient if we make the cream cheese the right one. And so we'll take 226 times 50.44%, and we get 13.9, which we round to 114. So you can see we're getting the same numbers. So 226 times 1.33%, and we get 3.00. We will take 226 times 1.77%, and we get 4. And then 226 times 265%, and we get 598.9, which will round to 599. So we're off by 1 gram on that. So we're basically getting the same thing regardless of how we do it. Okay. Okay, so everybody okay with that? So you'll still, it just, somebody might pick the cream cheese because it's cream cheese frosting. I think most people will pick the sugar, but it doesn't quite matter. You're going to come up with the same numbers in the end. So your percentages will be a little bit different, but your 100% ingredients are opposite. So then it all it all works out. Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. So that was good to see and see it in practice. Okay, let's pause here for a moment. Anybody, I know a couple people came in late. Everybody following along okay? All right, then let me, just going to review this kind of one more time. I know we've worked on it before, but let's just take a look at this other kind of worksheet. And okay. All right, so these are examples of when you may be given a formula with just the percentages and you're told either how much flour to use or what your desired yield is. And I think we kind of spent a little bit of time on this last week, but if anybody is in 165, you have seen this on one of the quizzes where you've got to figure out these new numbers. And sometimes it's a little bit intimidating at first, but we've talked about from the beginning how you may be given just these percentages, but you will never be given them without one of two pieces of information, either the desired yield or the flour amount that you're supposed to use. If you are given the flour amount, then all you have to do is take that and straight up multiply it by these individual percentages. If you're given the desired yield, then you take that number, divide it by the baker's percentage, and then you come up with the new flour weight, and then you simply multiply them out. So it's nothing to be nervous about. So let's do one of these examples and then we'll pause for questions. So let's just see. Let's do Italian bread and let's just take this 75 grams here, okay? So you've been told here are your percentages and they want you to make 7,500 grams of Italian bread dough. So you have your baker's percentage and you have your desired yield. So desired yield divided by baker's percentage gives you 4,480. So that is your new flour weight. Okay, now from that number, you can figure out anything else. So you already know, let's get this thing going again. So you already know your bread flour is 4,480. Okay, so then all you have to do is take that number and multiply it by the different percentages. So we'll take 4,480 and we're going to multiply it by 64%. And we get 2,867.2. So we'll round that to 2,867. Okay, so that's your water amount for making 7,500 grams of Italian bread dough. And then we'll take our 4,480 times 0.9%. And we'll get 40.32, which we will call 40 grams of yeast. All right, and then 4,480 times 2%, 89.6, which we will round to, I'd probably in this case do 89.5 and get a little bit. You might get 90 and then take a little pinch off. So let's do that, 89.5 grams. And then your malt syrup is 0.5%. So 4,480 plus 0.5%. Ooh. There we go, 22.4, which we will do 22. Okay, so let's add all these up. 4480 plus 2867 plus 40 plus 89.5 plus 22. And I get, oh shoot, I just did the wrong thing. And I get 7498.5 or 7499. So you are within 1 gram of your desired yield. So you are spot on in this instance, okay? Okay, everybody okay with me erasing or?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I guess I'm just a little lost because I was last.
I'm sorry, you're a little lost because why?
I wasn't here last week,
Oh, okay, all right.
so
So
I'm completely.
you're confused, okay. So this is not, so basically we are doing just what we did with the Spritz cookies and the cookies from the Bake from Scratch website. We are being given a new yield. We've already have our percentages here. So we figure out how much we want to make. So in the case of the cookies, we picked 4 dozen, and then we picked I'm trying to remember exactly. Did we? Yeah, so we picked 4 dozen with that, and I guess we didn't figure out anything specifically with the others. We just got the percentages. So you are given, or you're either told, or you figure out what your desired yield is. So we've been given the 7,500 grams here. That's how much we want to make. And we divide it by the baker's percentage, which we did with the Spritz cookies. You get your new flour amount, which in this case was the 4480. And then you take that number and you simply multiply it by these different percentages. It just looks a little bit different. It's in a different form, but it's exactly what we've been doing before. So it's really one of the 3 equations that you need for Baker's math. The first one is figuring out the percentages. So individual ingredient weight divided by the flour weight gives you all of the individual percentages. And then the other 2 are what we have been using here. Desired yield divided by the overall baker's percentage gives you the new flour weight. And the new flour weight times the individual percentages, and you get their new weights. So those are the only 3 equations you need to know with Baker's math. And this is just a slightly different looking recipe or formula. It's kind of in grid form, but it's exactly what we've been doing this evening. So I just don't want you to be intimidated when you see something like this, which you may see in your bread class. It is nothing different than we've been doing all the way through with the Baker's math. It just looks a little bit different, but there's nothing different as you go through. If you can keep those formulas on index cards and just remind yourself of what they are and how to get the numbers, there's nothing that you can't figure out with those 3. So, you know, the recipes and the formulas may look a little bit different. you know, pretty much through 101, they're looking like a recipe out of a cookbook. And then when you get to bread, you may start seeing something like this, but it's still the same thing. You have your original amounts over here with your original yield. And then just over in this other column, you've got the baker's percentages. And there's your flour that's already been set at 100%. And then you have these different percentages. So you get your desired yield. You are either given the number or you can figure it out by how many grams you want in whatever product you're making, in this case, Italian bread. You get your desired yield, divide it by whatever the baker's percentage is, and then take that new flour weight and multiply it by the individual percentages. And that, of course, maintains your consistent product. Okay, does that help, Melissa?
Yes, it does. I had my notes from when we were doing the spritz cookie. I had them flipped over, and that's why I was confused.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it just, I know it looks a little bit different, but it's still, we're all doing the same thing, and we're just using those 3 equations. So that is pretty much it. Would everybody, I have a favor to ask, would everybody in the chat write down which class you're in and your chef, so I can make sure that I get the information in the correct classes? I don't want to miss anything. So okay. Okay. All right, so is everybody pretty much okay. All right, so I think I've got everybody here. Okay. All right, so nobody's moving on to, or nobody's in bread right now. Okay, that's helpful. All right. So we can pause and stop here. We won't meet next week because of our little week-long summer vacation, but then we'll pick up and continue. And, you know, and I'm going to, you know what, let me put in the chat here my number. Again, I know it's on your class page, but if anybody has any questions and wants to chat, you can call me or text me, and I will, there we are. I will probably meet with a handful of people over break who want to kind of get caught up. So feel free to reach out. And you know, it gets a little bit better as we go along. And Daisy, I am recording, so I will post this. And I'll either post it in your chat or on your class page right above or below the link to the study hall. Sorry about that. So anyways, so I will get that in. It's like a 2-step sort of thing to get the recording in the right format, and then I'll get it up there. So, and I'll definitely put the lemon cookie recipe that we looked at in the class chat, so that you have that as well, if anybody is so moved to make those spiced Meyer lemon cookies. And actually, they were piped out, kind of like your spritz cookies. So anyway, that's sort of that. And I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions. So reach out if you have any specific questions, and otherwise, I'll see you all in a couple of weeks, and I hope you all have a really great break.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chef. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.